Don't worry, Mr. Ping. He'll be back before you can say noodles.
Hamburger.
Bow, bow.
What a homophobe. My new head.
Jesus Christ, one of your arms looks so jacked and the other one does not.
Oh no.
That one.
You're a gooner.
That's the intro. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the largest show on the internet, Large Lads, with your host, Max Sheether, first-time guest, Samuel Braden Sheether. Sorry, I forgot his name. And Coach Klong. We'll get straight into it.
And Wizard Dog.
And Wizard Dog. Maybe a potential co-host is Wizard Dog. He seems to be showing up for these a lot. Easy habits for maximizing strength. We've talked about like really small things you can add in.
Yep.
We were talking about the other day, like if we were full-time strength athletes, what we could add in.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stuff that we could probably just start doing now. So like, what are small things that probably go a long way, like in a longer term?
I feel like when I eat more red meat, I feel more powerful.
Whoa, really? I feel like that's gonna be a popular take.
Yes.
That's crazy. You never eat red meat.
I know. I don't like it.
Did you have anything in mind when you wrote this? So, clarifying question.
Okay.
Do you mean things that we've already instated that are like low-hanging fruit for the lads to incorporate?
Yep.
Or like things that we are looking to continue to incorporate to try to like get further?
I will take either answer. So like things that you have added that you were like, oh, these were really easy pickups. So just like both the things that we think we could do now that would be an easy add, or things that we have done in the past.
Did you have any in mind when you wrote the question?
Walking, I've like gone up and down. And it's just one of those things that's just good. I should just do it all the time, and I'll sometimes slack on it because I think of it as like a low tier, just like, oh, it's like an extra thing I can do. I should always be doing a few walks a week. Like it's just such an easy way to keep moving because I'm really, really disciplined on my mobility, which I've always harped on being goated. Just doing a walk, especially if I'm feeling like really sore and shitty, is the perfect time. So like when I want to do it least is probably the time I should do it. That one is always, I think, of like the easiest pickup in the world. It's like, fuck it, walk for 5 minutes. Like go put a 3-3 on the treadmill and walk for 5 minutes, or like after work go walk for 20 minutes.
You're not walking 3 miles an hour. You usually don't walk 3 miles an hour.
It depends.
Okay, I was gonna say, I've walked in on your treadmill sessions. A lot of the time that is not 3 miles.
So I usually will go inverse of how long I plan on walking.
Okay.
Or if I'm going for like 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going real slow. Because I'm like, but like if I'm trying to like squeeze a really short, like I'm like, I need to go to bed. And I'm just gonna like try and get up walking really, really fast, I'll go 3-3.
Okay, that makes sense.
I always go 3 inclined though, but I'll go all the way down to 2 miles per hour if I'm like, I'm being lazy and I just want to hit a 30-minute walk. Like, I want to watch an episode of a show and hit the easiest meander of all time.
Kind of on that note, when I added an exercise bike, I felt like it was really useful for recovery for my legs because walking didn't feel as useful recovery-wise.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I was hesitant to do it for a long time because I'm lazy. But then when I started doing it, I was like, I should have done this a long time ago. Yeah, definitely.
I'm trying to think. Did you watch the video I put up yesterday?
I haven't watched it yet, no.
I kind of touched on this a bit about how like most lifters end up superstitious because like early in lifting, you're like, I had a good day today. And you start desperately looking for things to try to have the good day more often.
Yeah.
And you're going to be correct with some things where it's just like, oh, I just have a standard amount of water to go through. Like that's an easy one.
Yeah.
It's just whatever it is for you, depending on when in the day you train, right? Like I would try to drink at least a liter of water before I trained. When I trained in the morning, it would be like 2 liters if it was a little bit later in the day, but a number that you feel good at. You don't feel like you're like waterlogged and having to piss constantly, but you find a number and it's easy. If you give a shit about lifting, it doesn't take much to motivate yourself to drink some water if that's all it costs to get better workouts. That was one of the things I talked about, is like you notice these things, and then you're also gonna like misidentify some things that just become superstitions. And I said like even those I think work, because you get like this association thing where it's like you put on your squat shirt and you're like ramping up to squat, and like you do your silly squat mumbo jumbo rain dance warm up and you're mentally ready to squat. So even like the not so functional superstitious things
really funny.
are rituals.
I've got a squat shirt. I think most people do, right? And I remember being like, this is such a, like, I don't know. I am very superstitious about lifting. I don't think I'm superstitious about much other, right? And I was like, this is my squat shirt. And that was like, I didn't have thoughts beyond that. And as I got better, I was like, oh, this is a thick cotton shirt. There's literally like, there's a reason I noticed there's a correlation, but I just was like, this is the lucky one. I tend to have better sessions in this one.
Yeah, sometimes you're right and sometimes you're completely wrong, right? But like both are like looking for things to add. So I don't know, I always say like, you know, just like basic stuff early on is like, all right, certain amount of sleep. Like if you got a big session coming up, just go to bed a little bit earlier. You know, don't scroll on your phone, have a certain amount of water, pay attention to your electrolyte intake being proportionate to that water intake, right? Don't just be like, oh, I didn't have any sodium at all today.
Just chug a bunch of water and like came in.
And then like pay attention to like what pre-workout meal hits that like sweet spot of enough for fuel, but not so much that you feel like you're digesting and bloated, right? Kind of just honing in on a pre-workout meal that or two that you know is like the right amount. I used to like go too low fat and I would digest the workout and I could like tell I was crashing at the halfway point. So I just started adding 10 grams of fat to the meal. Like there was a little bit of fat kind of default in the meal, but I added 10 and that slowed the digestion. It slowed the insulin release. And then I had great energy all the way through the whole session. So it's just paying attention to like the water, the sleep, and the food to have those sessions more often, I think are huge ones. And then maybe having some sort of like Kirsten has her ritual to have a good workout. You just need to come in usually in the right like frame of mind, and you'll usually find your way into having a good workout. Maybe you don't crush a huge rep PR or something, but you'll have a productive workout and moving towards your goals. But that's kind of the prerequisite, more even than the physical stuff, is coming in the right mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna work on my technique. I want to hit a +1 on this exercise, like having goals and having like the right mindset to push yourself, but also the technique and having varied session objectives is like, that's almost the most important thing. So having like a routine to get into that, like Kirsten watches her Trend Twins videos. You and I have a couple of videos. We'll like sit in our car. Like if I'm not already there from driving, I will wait 5 minutes to watch the video in my car because it does help to go into the gym in that right state of mind. Or like, I kind of have my stretching routine in the corner. That's also kind of part of how I ramp into the session. Adam was saying how he likes how we put abs at the beginning for a lot of the people we coach, because it's like once you're acclimated to it, it doesn't detract from your performance on the deadlift. And it's like pushing hard, but it's nowhere near as hard as a hard deadlift. So it kind of is like this bridge into pushing hard for the day is you push as hard as an ab can be, and then it's not so jarring to go straight from like the first big thing of the day is tough deadlift sets. That's kind of like disorientingly hard. So I think the abs early can also be a way to kind of ramp into the right mental spot.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I inherited a shirt from Sam that's a Brian Alsru's shirt that says "Die Empty," and I've been wearing it on my big squat days because I'm like, if I'm wearing this shirt and I
feel
like,
so corny if I don't go away.
If I just do like an RPE 7 set of leg press, that is so lame. Like,
it's so funny to like self-shame and be like, gotta work harder, I'm a fucking cornball.
I cannot wear this shirt and be a pussy.
I was gonna say, I feel like one of like everyone talks about like eras of lifting, right? Like we're like the 70s versus now, and like all the programming advancements we've made. I think one of the biggest things is having a camera. Like being able to film your training. What an underappreciated thing that I feel like I was not taking advantage of like for the first couple of years of lifting. Holy, oh my God, filming your like both your like accessories. Underrated thing, G-check yourself on your accessories. Like, oh my God, I remember I filmed my tricep extensions and I was like, gee, I'm going to like barely 90, like what a pump. So like, what an easy way to pick up gains, just filming yourself in your accessories. You're like, ooh, that actually looks like shit. And like, that's the easiest and best way I know of to improve technique is to actually be able to give yourself feedback, because most people are training alone. So it's like the only way you're gonna like, don't just film your top set because then it's too late and the session is over. Film your warm-ups. Like, it feels stupid to set up your camera for 3 warm-ups in a row, but like having active feedback for yourself to get better is such a big thing that I feel like a lot of people are missing out on. Like, I get it, because setting up a camera in the gym over and over feels so lame. Especially if you're in a commercial gym, you have my great sympathy. Because I felt very stupid in the YMCA setting up a camera. I feel stupid now, like setting up my camera like a bunch of times in the gym. Like, I'm a very, very good lifter, and I go to a gym that's not like crazy serious, but like it feels stupid to like film myself doing 7 pull-ups. Like, this is very stupid and lame of me. But also, I want to know what my pull-ups look like, and that matters to me more than looking cool and like coming off as slightly vain and like loving filming myself. But like that's been a really easy, like the easiest habit to get into is just like prop your phone up for your working sets and have like active feedback for yourself. Also occasionally film from different angles, not just the cool ones.
That's what I was gonna say, because I was filming a couple years back. I was filming my squat from the same angle every single time, and I went eye blind to it. And then Sam was like, film it directly from the side. And I did, and I was like, that's horrendous. I was so mortified that my squat looked like that, but I was just blind to what that front 45 degree from the ground angle looked like.
Yeah, that's like a really weird thing that like when I threw shot put, I remember like you could make your throw look really pretty from one angle, and it's like, this is a really proficient throw, and then you'd film it from the side, like, like that looks so scuffed, because you're like, that is one of like the downsides of a camera, is if you're like, this is my angle, or like, this is the easiest place to set up my camera from, you're getting a feedback loop to specifically make your form look good from that single angle.
Yeah.
Like, there have been times where my form has gotten really good looking from one angle, and like, I hate filming my bench from the side because it looks bad. Though, it's active feedback for something I'm doing wrong in my bench.
Exactly, right? Like, that's why people will message me and Kirsten, and they'll be like, yo, what angle do you want? I'm like, I don't want you to get into a habit of this is where I prop my phone, because then you're never going to break that habit. I want you to randomly place it. I want you to put it in angles you suspect might be useless, because you're going to notice something. It could be something you're doing well. It could very well be something you're doing poorly. But like behind the bench, you can see, am I drawing my sternum up to meet the bar halfway? Or because it's really obvious if you're fading your torso away as it gets close to you, right? So I was like telling Adam, and me and Kirsten tell all of our clients, like, vary the angles. Pick random ones. Don't just fall into that habit of front 40. Front 45 is, I'll throw it out there as a great recommendation, because you can see a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Like, if I could only see one angle, I probably would pick front 45, because there's a lot of different technical things you can assess in in a sumo, in a conventional, in a squat, and in a log press. You can see a lot at front 45. But don't always do it. Vary it.
Yeah.
Especially if you hate seeing it from an angle, film from that angle. There's something you're looking at. There's something that you're probably specifically not liking for a reason a lot of the time. Sometimes it's like a dumb aesthetic thing that, like, I can see lifters hold themselves back because they get caught up on, it's like the quintessential long femored 6'2" white guy existentially upset that his squat doesn't look like Liu Xiaojun's. Yeah. And it's like, I promise this isn't a form or a mobility problem. It's just not possible. Sometimes you get that, right? Where it's like someone's hung up on my technique's bad. It's like, because you're comparing to a physically, your technical model isn't possible.
Like me trying to pull like Kaler, and it's like, it's just never to look the same.
You pull like Kaler, or like there's guys who have certain leverages that are trying to position themselves like some of the top sumo guys. And it's like, one, you're on a stiff bar. Yeah. Top stiff bar pullers don't look like that.
Yeah.
2, you don't have a freaking 20 inch reach advantage over your height, right? Like, you don't have those crazy. You're not gonna have a torso that's straight up and down. It's not gonna happen. So like, that's always like, there's a lot of skill to selecting a technical model that like is generally what you see guys around your weight succeeding with, but does have specifics to you that's attainable. Like, that is kind of a hidden skill, is finding lifters to mirror that are well selected.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just something you think looks cool, but it's also not just like something super like unique. And it's something that could actually be replicated by you, right? I think there's a lot of nuance to that.
Don't do it anymore. You ever attack the weights too hard? Yesterday's theme was attacking the weights. You ever get too hyped?
Yeah, I think, what was it, like a year or two ago, I was really pushing hard on the deadlifts. We were like doing a phase of I wasn't very neurally efficient at deadlifting. So we did a phase of like, okay, we're just going to do heavy singles until I hit my deadlift goal. And I was like getting really angry, but then I would get so hyped up that I would like go to pick up the bar and my hands would like not grab the bar. Like I couldn't, like I was too adrenaline up to pick the bar up off the floor. And then I was like, yeah, well, that's not good. So then I had to figure out like how to pull back from that, because the problem was that I wasn't pulling hard enough. So then I was like, well, I'll just go full throttle adrenaline, and then that didn't work either. So I kind of had to pull back a little bit after that. But
yeah, when like there's a lot of lifters that are on optimal is on that left hand side of the arousal curve. They do their best lifting not that hyped up.
Yeah.
And if you have kind of historically like, oh, I see people get hyped up, so I've been getting hyped up. The idea of approaching a really heavy weight without that adrenaline, like you and I are almost like over. Like it's not gonna fucking go if I don't have that.
Yeah.
You and I are on the right side of that arousal curve for sure. But like developing that skill of like hitting a weight at low, like going up to like a 3-plate deadlift without your adrenaline shield, where it's like it's one of the ways you could put fear out of your mind is to get fired up.
Yeah.
That's what you and I do, right?
Well, we seem to benefit from it greatly, but we also know a lot of guys where it's like you should be coming in as calm as you can, because you're naturally gonna your hype is gonna be too much off rip.
Yeah,
so
your body doesn't know the difference in adrenaline from fear or from getting hyped, right?
Yeah.
Like you get the same strength boost from it. Keep your cues in mind, right? Like, and it can stunt your technical development. You can like, oh, I'm propping up my strength development, but you're just marching in to apply like a technique-based plateau to just like every time I deadlift, I like both of us did this. Whereas like deadlift, you get fired up, and it did lead to us progressing, but it led to our technical progression being slowed. There's a lifter at our gym, kind of
makes the series better, I think.
Lifter in the gym that's kind of on that same thing, where she got quite strong because of her willingness to get really angry and fired up, but her technical progression over the last 2 years has been quite a bit slower. And so, over time, you try to find that middle ground of the both, or maybe you do a low hype phase of training, right?
I like hype too much.
It's very fun. Like I can say that like for my bench press, it's always done me a ton of good. I've never gotten too fired up on a bench.
Crazy.
Because my bench is the one that like my technique is the best on that lift. So it's the most second nature. So it's not going out the window. And if technique's gonna be locked in no matter what, the more fired up more you're gonna lift, right? Because usually when that starts going the other way is you get so fired up, your cues go out the window, then your performance goes back down.
Yeah,
there was a period on the deadlift where my deadlift was not automatic and I was still getting fired up, and I would have progressed faster if I got about half as hyped, kept my cues in mind, and let my technique and my strength progress in tandem. That it would have been a lot. Like I could point to the deadlift most specifically being the one that I didn't earn the right to bring the amount of hype I was bringing. And then also like several times in the garage, I've been like really, really tired because, I have a little bit of a tendency to overtrain most of the time.
Yep.
And
chronic insomnia.
Not rest. And so like I've had like sessions in the garage where I'm like, I got a big weight today. I'm going to make it happen. And like, you're trying to use the usual, like you listen to songs, you watch videos, you run through the same things in your head that usually like get that little bit of spark of adrenaline feeling, and nothing is, that feeling, like when you're fatigued and you're like trying to pull that trigger and nothing's happening. I have headbutted our wall so hard I rocked myself bad.
I remember you said I might have given myself a concussion. You texted me a while ago.
Because I was like, I think, I don't know if I remember if it was, I did most of the training for either the 600 bench or the 880. It was one of those two. And it was like a big session, and I had been like, force feeding. My sleep is always bad, but it was extra bad because I was most certainly overtraining.
Yep.
And I was like, I need to make this happen, right? If I was smart, I would have been like, I just push it back 2 days.
Yep.
But I'm very stubborn. I refuse to do that. So I was like, I'm going to get some adrenaline. I just walked up to the wall, like full back. I was like, oh, I'm rocked. And then I went and did the lift, and thankfully it wasn't a miss.
I don't have a full headbutt story, but I remember when I was 17, we had like my last heavy pull of the end of a block. And for whatever reason, there was a lot of people at the gym that day. And so like a small crowd had come to watch my pull. Truthfully, partially because I was being like a loud fuck. Like it's not like I could have discreetly done this session, but I was drawing attention to myself because I was nervous. And then I remember someone offered me ammonia, and I was like, of course. And I'd only ever once hit ammonia when Sam's high school friend gave it to me in the back of the car, and I did the class and then cried because I was like 10 years old.
Critical lore drop. Max is a crier.
I am.
Max is a big time crier.
So I'm 17. I'm getting ready for this 7:30 deadlift, and someone goes, "You want this ammonia? It's fresh." And I was like, "Of course, man." And class. I was like, "I'm not getting anything." I immediately almost threw up. It was like, okay, let's go. I had a crowd of people, so I strap up as fast as I can, and I never once in my life I rolled the bar forward, and I pulled it back, and I sent it. And I remember I was literally tears were in my eyes as I locked it out and skedaddled away. It was one of the worst deadlifts I've ever done, and I was mostly out of peer pressure and I've got to attack.
One roll ever done. Me and Max hate the bar roll in a lot of circumstances. In powerlifting, you have to be so heavy to justify a bar roll.
Yeah.
Just unreliable. I'm just kind of throwing that in there as a learning point. None of Kirsten's athletes bar roll. I have a few strongmen because there is a use case for straps. If you're a bigger guy or you got shorter arms, you have to spend time. You inherently have to spend time down there. So it's you might need to roll away to create room to get air for your brace. So I have a couple of strongmen. Even then, I'm I don't like how that looks. It's it just adds a very so many guys are I'm transitioning the momentum from sideways to upwards. That's not how that works. Adam, you're an engineer. That's not how that works, correct? You can't just magically transition lateral force into vertical force. That's not how that works.
I mean, you run, you jump.
Yeah.
Run, jump, good.
Phenomenal point.
Sideways, up. Counterpoint, liberal.
Who was that girl? There was a local girl who had a crazy bar roll deadlift.
Yeah.
And she was so strong, I just couldn't say shit about it. It was because her
I remember
deadlift
that.
Obviously, it was not pretty with a huge bar roll, medium-sized, my sized lady. But holy shit, it was strong. I wish I remembered. I didn't follow her on Instagram anymore.
I remember that girl.
Yeah, that's pretty sick though.
Ballsy,
it was sick. She was super super ultra hype deadlift lady.
Yeah, it was cool to see some just local teenage girl taking the Pete Rubish approach of just technique isn't fucking real. You think I'm ever gonna deadlift 800 if I'm thinking about technique? And then just hit that shit.
I love the idea grab the bar, roll it, and let's go.
Maybe I'll make a video talking about the bar roll and the nuance. Obviously, I've got an interesting perspective as someone who's telling you not to bar roll and also does a bar roll.
Yep.
But if I pulled without straps, I would not have a bar roll. Let's just add that as context, I guess.
I thought you were gonna tell the punching the plates or the brick wall story.
Oh, that wasn't getting fired up. That was the opposite.
It was really funny to me. You can tell it, but
yeah. So I did not have tremendous social skills until still, but especially until I was 21.
I developed them. I was that's cool. That's awesome.
Compared to before, I've come a long way. Until I was 21, and it was purely due to a lack of interacting with people, right? And I remember I failed a squat, and I think this is just the most autistic thought process looking back, but I failed a squat. And I was kind of upset about it. And I remember I thought my way through. I was okay, man, I'm pretty upset about this right now.
Yep.
What do people do when they're upset? I should punch a wall. I see lifter guys get mad and punch walls. And I was oh, this is my college gym. Of course I don't want to damage anybody's property. That would be really silly and that would suck. So I'm I walked over to a concrete wall and I punched it. And I was wow, that hurt and I'm still upset. Why the fuck did I do that? And I just obliterated all the, thankfully I didn't break my hand. But it took all the skin off my knuckles. And I was this is embarrassing. Why did I do that? This didn't make me feel any better. Why do guys do this? And then obviously,
it's so fun. Everything you tell
that's
me,
the one time I've
having
ever.
the thought process of be upset people usually hit things.
Yeah. Never. Well, you have to try. That's how you find out who you are. You try out different stuff and you see what sticks. You know what I mean? And I was I guess I'm not a wall. It's we know some guys that are real wall punchers. It's just what they do when they're upset. Some of them are actually really reasonable, well-adjusted dudes, and they just are wall punchers.
I know some women wall punchers.
And some of them are very. Some of them are well-adjusted and just are wall punchers. I had to check. Am I a wall puncher? The answer was absolutely not. And that was the one time in my life that I punched a wall.
Well, that's your error, Sam, is you should have punched a wall you could have put a hole in. No. Maybe you would have felt better.
I would have been so mad at myself if I then had to like pay for it. Like if I had to walk up to the people at the front desk of the gym and be like, "Yo, can you give me the context for like I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever come back. I think I would have dropped out of college. That'd be the most embarrassing. Like I was smart enough to know that I didn't have that in me. So I was like, let me go find an unbreakable wall and test this.
But it's probably
It's
more
also the
satisfying
time to like
if you
look
go
around and be
through
like,
it.
what's the structural integrity?
Yeah, well, you know, I don't know. You have to dip your toe in. Like you're like finding out if you like powerlifting. Maybe you try it a little bit. You find out if you like punching walls. You have to like do a little test run. You can't just throw yourself into the deep end.
Yeah. But I don't know. I would think part of the satisfaction would be that you broke the wall.
No, that would be so upset. I'd be so sad. I'd feel like such an asshole. I would not like that at all.
We had a family friend growing up who like drove to like some kind of family event, was having some kind of emotional period in his life, and like socked his steering wheel, and then told him, like, I broke my hand. Drove himself to the hospital, his hand wasn't broken. And that alone has been like, can never be a punch wall guy. That is the single most embarrassing story I like.
I remember you were a child and you were just you were. This was Max before he was cool. This was Max in his loser era when he was like living off of top ramen and never left the basement. And I remember Max being like, "Oh, what a loser."
This is foundational. Like, I think I don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else that I want to be, but it's not that.
Me and Kirsten had this fear the other day. Kirsten had to go get stitches. She was like getting out like a baking pan or something, like a glass baking pan, and they fell and they hit each other in the air. So they broke in the air, and one of the shards, like, you know, stuck into her quad a little bit. Like it was bad enough to need stitches, no worse.
Yeah.
Right. But I saw how fast it started bleeding, and I just went and grabbed the car keys. I was like, "You're gonna need stitches." That was fast. But on the way there, we were like deliberating, like, what if we get there and they're like, this doesn't need stitches? It was like late on a work night too. So like we like gonna have to wait in the waiting room just for them to be like, this is a scratch. I was like, that would be so secondhand devastating for me and brutal for Kirsten. And we got there and like, no, this absolutely needs stitches. Yes, this is like, I even Googled it to make sure like there's a certain like depth or width or if it's open that necessitates stitches.
Yep.
And I was like, that's pretty deep. Okay. And we get there and we're like, this needs stitches, right? And the guy's like, yes, absolutely. But we do have people come in with like straight up scratches. But I think I need stitches. And he's like, there's no way to stitch this. Like,
Dude. I like that. I feel like that taught me a bad lesson to some extent, that I was like, you really gotta have a justifiable injury to go to the hospital. Because the idea of going in and be like, it's shattered, I know. It's broken. It really did set a fear in my mind. Anabolic micronutrient sources. Yes, last time we were talking about like you were like, you know, big point of yours is micros are maybe more important for training, and someone was like, how do I get my micros? What are like good places to get those from? So what comes to mind for Kirsten?
Asparagus.
Okay.
Spinach.
Okay.
oh,
Nah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you just eat straight?
Kirsten
asparagus?
eats one of those.
I love asparagus.
You just eat straight asparagus?
Yeah.
How
I
do
just put it in the air fryer and I put some olive oil and salt and pepper on it, and then you cook it for 8 minutes. You don't have to do literally anything.
Just a chill
I
little
put
snack?
it in the air fryer on a piece of tin foil and put olive oil, salt and pepper, and then I put it in and then I leave. And then I come back and I have asparagus.
Oh, yeah.
Let me know if you guys want to see this. The Meathead Cooking with Kirsten videos is something that we have had as a possibility in our mind.
It's a lot better than Meathead Cooking with you and me, because it's just like, big bowl of beef.
I know.
Don't season it.
Yeah.
Put it in a bowl.
It's just going to be Caspian complaining. The only person that watches it is Caspian to complain about just how bad. Oh, and Dennis hates how much we don't season stuff.
Hey, I started adding things.
That's true. Max does season things now.
Yeah.
But I will say, I have meal prepped successfully in 30 minutes. I know there's recipes that say 30-minute recipe. They're all lying. I actually have them. So just let me know if you want those.
My claim to fame is I've cooked while playing Pokemon the entire time. So.
Yes, Max has a giant wok and cooks 10 pounds of beef at a time and just pays no attention at all because it's 10 pounds.
So if you want a fast
like,
method, Kirsten's. If you want a Pokemon
he just
method.
leaves the kitchen and goes and watches YouTube videos or plays Pokemon on his phone and then comes back and is like, it looks like you got more 20 minutes, and walks back over and plays
No,
Pokemon.
he stores it.
He does stir it.
You gotta stir it, yeah.
Either that or he commissions his girlfriend to stir it for him while he plays video games.
It's pretty cool. It's the best cooking method
But
of all.
Kirsten's at the perfect level of cooking where it's actually it tastes good, but it's still very accessible to mentally handicapped fellows like you and me. who
That's
are
a rough. Whenever there's like a tutorial where it's like,
I can't. I know. I see it. I'm like, and I think most of our viewers are on our level or just slightly above, where it's like I can't do that.
It's like pan sear it. Now we're gonna pop it in the oven. Nope.
Nope.
Fuck that.
Whereas Kirsten's like, it's the fanciest stuff you can make with our skill set. It's really good. As far as micro sources, I'm trying to. You guys need to talk more. I watch these back when I'm editing them, and I'm like, this is like 80%. This is so embarrassing.
Wait, I'll guess what you're gonna say.
Yes, go.
Greek yogurt, orange juice, eggs. What else do you do? Baby carrots, broccoli slaw. There you go. What else? What did I miss?
Spinach is one that's really good. There's a lot of like micronutrient dense things that don't digest very well that maybe you need to like find your individual tolerance to. You're listing the ones that I have found fit for me.
Oh,
the carrots are
broccoli.
more. The carrots are more for fiber than they are micros.
Oh, fair.
They got carotenoids. There's good stuff in them. Like most, if you read into like a lot of foods that are just like whole foods, they've got cool stuff. Like, even if it doesn't have like micronutrient.
They got cool stuff in there.
Yeah, there's like, it's got flavonoids that prevent cancer, right? Like even if they don't have micronutrients.
I've never heard that word in my whole life.
Right? Yeah.
Flavonoid.
Yeah, they're like little molecules that are like unique to fruits, right? That have like distinct health benefits, right?
It's so funny. I feel like because I'm pretty knowledgeable about training, right?
Yeah.
My nutrition knowledge is so far below yours, it's crazy. Because a lot of people message me and they're like, "Well, you know a lot about programming." I'm like, "Yeah, I think I like to think that I do." Oh my god! Like I truly am just like, "Sam, is this a good diet?" And you're like, "Yeah, that's generally pretty good." And that's the only thought I've ever put into it. And so you'll be like, "You should add more fruit." And I'm like, all right, I'll figure out
I get a
fruit
lot
meal.
of benefit from like reading about the things because it just gives me this more buy-in of like, no matter what it is that you like, there's going to be something that it's decent for. Like I just like green onions. It happens to be a really good source of vitamin K, which is great for bone mineral density. It's great for a bunch of stuff. Actually, vitamin K is like kind of an underrated one. I've got a D3 plus K2 supplement, but I'm like, cool. It happens to be good for this. So like lots of stuff has cool stuff, but like Kirsten was saying, like I really like the orange juice, the carrots, the broccoli. I try to have a few servings of fatty fish a week. That's a good one just for fish oils, right? Off the top, blackberries and blueberries, really good micronutrient density, right? But fruit in general is a great fruit and vegetables, just finding the ones you like and making a habit of saying, it's not a complete, like, I think when guys get into lifting, they're like, it's not a meal unless I have protein.
Yeah.
Good. That's a great associational habit that you don't have to track. You don't have to write everything in an app. If you just say, if I don't have like a nice serving of protein, it's not really a complete meal.
Yeah.
Just changing that definition in your mind, tremendously helpful. Saying, unless I have a serving of fruit or veggies, it's not a complete meal. Also, just does a ton to Band-Aid, by the end of the day, your total micronutrient count. So just like finding the fruits, like sure, is like a blueberry maybe slightly more nutrient dense than an apple. Yes, yeah, like serving to serving wise. But if you like the apple and you don't like the blueberries, adherence comes first, right? Like Stan says, like compliance is the science. Realistically, it's not about finding the optimal training plan or finding the optimal diet. It's finding a workable training plan or a workable diet that you'll adhere to really well. And then down the line, maybe we can work into doing something more optimal. But like, you look at like top level athletes, you look at their diet, you look at their training, you're like, but it'd be even better if you did this. And it's like, well, the hard part's getting someone to do this with insane adherence for a long time.
Yeah, for 20 years or whatever.
That's harder, right? But like, and that's like you get the whole debate of like optimized training is like, if you pick things that are more optimal, then you're less invested and less working hard. It's probably a worse result than if you pick the things you liked, but over time, maybe work into the optimizations. I think the same thing applies to diet. Get something workable first, as much as I can shill for blueberries and blackberries being the fucking goat. If you don't like them, don't do it.
Here are Max's basic nutrition tips.
Yes.
Sam said a lot of things about
Flavonoids.
flavonoids and terpenoids and all kinds of noids. Boys, broccoli slaw is the key. You don't gotta eat like you don't have to eat like me and have 4 bowls of beef and rice every day. I get that that's probably not sustainable for most people. Have one bowl, a large amount of broccoli slaw. It's great texture-wise. You can put barbecue sauce on there. It's a really easy source to get a shitload of vegetables in. Just have beef, rice, large pile of broccoli slaw. And Greek yogurt plus granola plus frozen berries, insanely good. It's also something frozen berries keep their micronutrients better over time. I don't know how that works. But
They're frozen at the point when they're ripe.
So that they're better for you. So just have a big bowl of that, super anabolic. Just try to have like one good health meal for your micros a day is good, because I get most people are like, I'm gonna eat my mom's dinner, or like, I work an actual job, you fucking goobers. Like I can't meal prep 7 times a day or whatever. But like, just like, it is so much better to have one good meal than 0 and so on. But like, whatever is the one amount that like you're actually gonna do. Because I feel like when we talk about like, oh yeah, we have 4 meals of beef and rice and broccoli slaw and Greek yogurt every day. It's like, that feels like a very, like, I'm sure, insurmountable task to the person who's not doing that. Because I remember being in that position when I was just eating like cereal and egg ramen, and I was like, this is about as anabolic as I can get, I think. And then I'd hear about people eating like solely clean, and like, that's crazy. How like that seems like an insane thing to get into. And I feel like it's just like, just have one. Just try and do like, I'm gonna have one productive meal a day, and that's such a good step, because then it's a little bit easier to do too.
Yeah.
And like, don't force yourself. Like, don't. Like, it is the biggest mistake is that people at the gym will be like, I've decided I'm gonna eat only clean 4 meals a day, and then they don't do that after 3 weeks because it's annoying. Like it's a hassle if you have a lot going on. Do one. Just do one productive meal. Just do like beef or whatever protein source is easy for you. If it's chicken right now, if you're like, hey, I have a lot of fat in my diet, just eat chicken for that meal then. I always forget that most people have a really high fat diets.
Yeah.
And so it's like, bro, just have chicken. Eat chicken, rice, or noodles. Some amount of veggies, and just have that once a day is way better than like trying to suddenly go all in and like maximize your hardcoreness.
Yeah, and functionally that's what I did, and it worked really well, right? You can't. Most people can't go all in and then have it be sustainable, like you said. And I have that conversation a lot when I have consultations with people at the gym, where it's like they're like, I want to start doing fitness. I'm starting everything this week, and I have to be like, good. I like this. This is good enthusiasm, but also you're gonna burn out. Like if you're going from being completely sedentary to I'm going to now lift 5 times a week and eat clean exclusively, it just doesn't work that well.
Well, like you said, we did that with you as well, right? When you were first getting into like structured dieting to bolster your gym progress.
Yeah, throwback to my protein coming from 1 hot dog every day.
Yeah, the OG diet.
Yes.
We were like, okay, let's just start with like a proper breakfast.
Yeah.
Right? Wing it the rest of the day because you'd be overwhelmed otherwise. But like, I think it was actually lunch.
Yeah, we did lunch.
Breakfast was hard for you to, but like every day we're gonna have a lunch that's like hits good macros. It digests well, which gave your body at least a little bit of rest from terrible digestion
and terribleness. Yeah.
And then is like micronutrient dense, or I don't know if I said which ones I said, but like macro, micro, digestion.
Yeah.
One meal that checks all 3 of those boxes, but it can be whatever the hell you want. And it doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah.
But then we found one that you could like, you're like, hey, I actually feel really good at. You start getting that like, I almost want to eat a second meal.
Yeah.
Because then I eat my dinner and I feel like a bag of shit.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, hey, can I find something that at least digests well for dinner? And then you kind of snowball into it rather than trying to jump into it. And that worked really well for you.
Yeah, and that's a funny one too. Like another one I heard recently was someone asking me if they are allowed to eat fruit, and I was like, interesting. I have not heard this never eat fruit thing before, other than from like carnivore people maybe. And they were like, oh, because it has sugar in it. And I was like, well, yeah, but if you aren't eating any fruit and you aren't eating any processed sugar, you're gonna inevitably have a sugar craving, and then you're gonna go eat Oreos or candy. Eat fruit. What are we talking about? And also for the micronutrient purposes too. But
yeah, when also like carbohydrates are the preferred fuel source for the body. As it seems like a lot of the main like carnivore guys are coming around to that now, where suddenly it's carnivore plus honey.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, weird. Maybe there was a benefit to that macro. They're like, oh, honey around workouts is great. It's like, oh, that's almost like what everybody was telling you, that carbohydrates around workouts might be a good.
Yeah.
Wow, we're coming back to the middle. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, back to Max's nutrition corner.
Let's go.
Micronutrients. Weird, mysterious topic that smart people talk about. I don't know what most of them are, to be honest.
Yep.
If you ask me, Max, to name all the micronutrients, I don't know.
Do you have like what do you have 3 you could list?
Of course.
Let's do it.
I was gonna say, but I have the important ones.
Oh, got it. You don't have like the tiny little new nonsense ones.
Name them.
Name.
Yeah, no, you like electrolytes? Name of them.
I wanted to know.
Name 3 electrolytes.
I wanted to know what your go-to electrolyte
Okay,
or your most important micros
so
were.
have fruit and veggies. Good covering probably a lot of the stupid small ones.
Yeah.
Also good veggies. Don't just eat cabbage. So if you have good blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, little variety of fruit, little variety of vegetables, you're probably covering a lot of the stupid ones. There are like 3 things that are probably like actively slightly conscious of, which is sodium. Usually if you're eating like a regular ass diet, you're getting
Plenty.
enough, if not too much. So for most people, I'm like, if you're not eating like crazy clean, you don't need to worry about sodium that much, because it's like, if you're eating McDonald's once a week, you're probably getting a fucking lot. So that one's usually like for most people, but like I have heard a lot of people where like they're trying to get into clean eating and they're like just salting for flavor, and they go to none. I kind of did that, and you were like, just have a minimum salt quantity per meal, and that was huge for me. That's also why I think people like salt as pre-workout is so big right now, is because people are like not having enough salt in their diet, which just have a little bit more salt in your diet, and you shouldn't need a bunch of salt as your pre-workout. Salt, sodium, easy. Potassium, that's the other one that I feel like you should actively be trying to get, right? Because if you're not eating a shitload of red meat is a great source of potassium, so is turkey. Those are the two goated ones, right? Body armors, really, really easy, lazy source. Just getting a body armor from the gas station or the grocery store. And bananas, another good one. I think avocados?
Taters are really good.
Oh, potatoes.
You just source some of your carbs from
Sweet
taters.
potatoes are better than regular potatoes for potassium.
No, they're
right?
about
the same.
About the
okay, that's the second main one of like, if I was structuring my diet or whatever, if someone was like, hey Max, I want to eat one clean meal a day, and I might be like, hey, red meat has the benefit of having a bunch of extra potassium, and you're probably way lower on potassium than you are most other micronutrients, because I think it's the FDA recommended value is like
nearly it's 4.7 grams, I
which
believe.
no one is getting.
Yeah,
like I
most
have to
people
act
are
like
under it.
I should probably be having more because I'm twice the size of a healthy individual.
Yeah, but also the Greek yogurt and the berries and the OJ are all also run up that potassium total. It's interesting because it's a micro, like certain things, it's just like, oh, I have cranberry juice, which boom, check, iodine done.
Yep.
Oh, I have this, boom, check, this is done. Whereas there's no way to check off your potassium in one go.
It's a whole day process.
It's spread across the day, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, because that's one that like I think has real performance benefits. Like there have been times that I like have been like really crampy if my potassium is low. I remember I was only eating chicken for all of my meals, and like my performance was worse. It's like one of the only micros that like I actively have to pay attention to make sure I get. The rest of them, like if I eat fruit and veggies, I'm probably fine. I don't think you should like develop like what seems like probably a pretty good vegetables, fruits. You're going to be covering a lot of them to an extent that's like probably good than if you're not doing that. But potassium is one of those ones where like maybe schedule a banana. It's really like if you like bananas, eat a banana in the morning. Maybe your one healthy meal a day is potatoes because that's an easier source. Like that has a benefit over rice in that you're getting that micro. Because most people's diets are like so low in potassium. I always realize that when I'm like everyone is so far because I am falling short of 4.5 grams occasionally, and I guess with the amount of red meat I eat, that's securing me.
But also that you're
When I was eating chicken, I was
your OJ and your Greek yogurt, like you're running up, and your fruit OJ and Greek yogurt are also contributing more than you think.
I guess I meant before I like specifically looking for potassium. I was like, it's crazy that I'm running low while eating what in my mind is a very healthy diet. It's the fact that I'm like falling below an FDA recommendation, and that means everyone else is falling below. So sodium, just to have an idea of where you're falling there. If you're like, I'm eating mostly clean, maybe have a minimum salt quantity. If you're eating outside of that, maybe have a slightly lower salt on your clean meal. And then potassium is the other easy one. And then zinc and magnesium are the two ones for sleep. I sleep awesome, to be completely honest. That feels unfair for me to talk about sleep, but just universally, everyone I know who sleeps bad just says those are just take a supplement, just take a zinc and magnesium. You can get it through food, but like just guarantee you have it because sleep is so important for recovery.
You know, it cracks me up. You'll think this is kind of funny as well. I love how many people don't believe that we eat clean. Like it's not possible. It's not physically possible to be this fat on clean food. It's like, no, I promise you.
I think a sun-kissed last week. I think really gave.
Nobody, but it still hasn't been drank. That's the. I know we lean into it, but like, I don't know. It's very fascinating. Like people are like, no, but what do you really eat? I'm like, no, I do actually just eat clean food. Like, you will have 2 pints of Ben and Jerry's a week to try to like keep your body weight pushing upward, and you put them around sessions and like you push to 3, right? But all of the other meals are clean food, and people just don't believe it's possible to eat in a surplus for a long time on
it
clean
feels slightly
food.
my fault because people really liked the fast food tier list video.
Yeah,
questions.
we
So,
do
like,
lean
for
into the
straight up 10
branding a
large
little
lads
bit.
episodes in a row. I was like, what's the go-to order at Olive Garden?
You get it a
going
lot
once a month.
You get it a lot more than I do, right? Like I am at a body fat where people are like, oh yeah, like maybe like you took bulk a little bit too far, but it could be a clean food. I believe you. No one believes you. Like I watch you every day. You literally are eating clean, like bodybuilding clean meals, and then a pint of Ben and Jerry's at the end of the day. And people are like, no, what's he really eating?
Yeah, well, I was like, yeah, because I get it. Because like, oh God, we were just talking about a lot of guys' day of eating You're fucking lying.
Oh my God.
You're lying.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, you set me off. Remember I made that video of everybody's lying about their training age because all of these fuckers like, I've been powerlifting for 2 years. And then they leave off the fact that they squatted and benched for freaking football for a decade.
Or they competed in powerlifting in middle school.
Yeah, like they leave off a bunch of shit, and it's like you're intentionally being misleading to sound good.
Yeah.
Man, I can spot them. I can spot these fake day eatings where you like wrote this the day before. You did it maybe for one day, and I'm not even sure you did it that day. This is not your average day of eating.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Well, you know who doesn't lie? The female bodybuilding competitors just protein, like 5 protein meals, like 5 whey protein included sources a day.
And any IFBB pro, I'm like, yeah, probably. I don't think you're lying. You're an IFBB pro. But it's like random powerlifting teenager being like, follow me in my day of eating. I don't know why average.
Max has beef with British powerlifting teens.
They're all lying.
It's a weird fixation of Max's. Like these fucking British kids
I
pissing me off.
hate everyone on Instagram, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's interesting to hear like how you guys frame nutrition, because mine comes more from a digestion perspective, because that was something that I had to really tackle when I started trying to eat cleaner. So a lot of my like focus on trying to make things digest better actually ends up having helpful consequences in terms of micronutrients and things like that, right? Where I'm like, oh, I have to have vegetables for fiber so that my digestion will be good, but then obviously then I get the micros from the vegetables. So it's just interesting to see like what perspectives people come at it from.
I basically did that in reverse order because my stomach was so sturdy from eating top ramen every day. Like I somehow was processing that okay because I was a teenager, and then I ended up with a clean diet, and now my stomach is sensitive. Like I got to a reasonably healthy diet before my stomach became a stomach of a 25-year-old. When suddenly I'm like, ooh, I can't eat Domino's every day anymore. like we'll have pizza one night, and I'm like, not doing that again.
You can't do it twice in a row.
But yeah, no, I feel like that was kind of like I was going for the performance benefits, and then I just ended up with way better digestion.
Yeah.
Well, like Sam's always had like a wildly sensitive stomach that like kind of forced you to eat. I will say, holy shit, Sam eats cleaner than fucking anyone I know. Oh my God, that guy's dialed in. It's crazy.
It's just because
you just have to.
It's not, yeah, I was gonna say it's not this like hardo point. It's really just like I am actively punished if I go slightly away at all. I will say it's interesting. Really, really hard leg training opens up the margin a little bit.
Oh, your body needs food so
I
bad.
I will digest something that was more like, maybe I shouldn't eat that. Fine. After like a really, really hard volume leg day. Like I don't know why that would like impact my digestion as much as it does, but that demand for nutrients.
Yeah.
Like I'll eat a meal that normally would be a no-go and be totally fine, but it's only after. And that was something I had to adjust because I used to think like, oh, I'll take this high-calorie meal the night before or the day of the big lift and I'll get the performance boost. But it worked out a lot better for me to the idea that like, oh, the pseudo cheat meal is going to be after for recovery instead of before for fuel. I like listened to a lot of bodybuilders because that was where I got a lot of my info because I knew I needed to get bigger. And they were often talking about in prep, when you're depleted, maybe you put the cheat meal before the priority body part so you have enough energy to train it really hard. And I'm not in a depleted state at all, ever.
I feel like I benefit sometimes from like getting a little bit of extra like carbs in the night before every training session.
I'll do my Rice Krispie treat beforehand sometimes, just like a little bit of extra fast digesting carbs in the pre-workout window. And I do feel like I've got a little bit of extra energy from that.
I'll do a Ben & Jerry's if I'm like really hard session followed by another really hard session. I'll go in between there because I'm I'm a little bit depleted from that last like obviously it's not the hardest day I do, but like before a really hard leg day, after my really hard upper back day, I'm like that's like in my mind that's a place to like really good calorie surplus right there.
What's the next one?
Optimal training partner or crew. So 2 ways to answer this. Either A, people who actually benefit from training crews, which I don't think we really do. We all train alone.
We could. We just don't know. We haven't really tried. Actually, we did have a training crew. It was pretty lit. It's pretty cool.
For so short.
The COVID backyard shed squad.
Oh my God! Yeah, we did. Yeah, that was crazy.
The training shed crew was pretty cool.
And then, or like hypothetical throughout history, who would you want to train with? Like, who do you think you would benefit from, or like would be the most hyped person? Obviously, comes to mind. What's his name? Dorian is his training partner. I always forget his name.
Leroy.
Shit.
Leroy sounds right to me.
Nah. Whatever.
Somebody tell me
Go
I'm
watch
right.
Blood and Guts. That guy was
I'm
going
almost
crazy.
certain his name is Leroy.
Also fucked up of Dorian Yates to be like, I did this all alone. I didn't need anybody. You're like the coolest training partner in the history of the world. It was for the mass.
Anybody could train that hard with that training partner, baby.
Easily. You give me Leroy, and I would be fucking totally 2,900.
So what were your thoughts on like the training crew side of things? Like we did briefly have, I watch sometimes the Elite FTS table talks with like former equipped lifters, and that's something that's like near impossible to do alone. It's almost inherently kind of a team sport. Not that you compete as a team, but it's like necessary to train with a crew.
It's a pit crew to do a multiply session.
And they swear, and I as much as I rag on that era of powerlifting, like we shouldn't just they have found a lot of good stuff for training hamstrings and triceps.
Yep.
Pick up some tips, right? Like it was some very dedicated people that were willing to give away their health. Like they figured out some things. Pay a little attention, right? And a bunch of the really articulate, smart people swear that's something they're like, I really feel like modern powerlifters are missing out on that. I get that you can train for raw without the crew.
Yep.
But if you, like, they were like, it was a skill back then to assemble a crew that you knew would prompt you to good training. Don't invite the guy that's going to mess up your day. Be like, this person's going to contribute in this way. Like building a team, so to speak, was a skill that some people had. So they would move gyms and they would reassemble a crew that would give, like, we've seen some guys that like their rise to the top, they had a training crew. And when that training crew dissolved, they fell off a map. So it was like, oh, wow, that was part of your success equation.
A large part
and they didn't have the skill to reassemble it. I mean, we've seen several guys. It seems like there was a lot of Midwest lifters that rose to the top with this crew of other strong guys. And when they kind of broke apart and moved and life came up, they couldn't reassemble it and they never kind of got back to that. So it's like, oh, you're lacking maybe the assembly of a crew skill, right? Maybe part of that's being a charismatic guy that people want to get in on what you're doing.
Yeah.
We're not very charismatic. No one ever wants to get in on what we're doing.
The lads, they're all over the world. They want to train with us.
But I do wonder about that. Like, that is interesting. I respect that perspective that no, I think like modern guys could be even better maybe if they had that skill and they like implemented all the stuff that clearly modern guys are doing really well. The results don't lie. They're doing a lot of stuff really good. I wonder if that is something that could like take people a little further even. I don't know, because you and I, people always assume we train together because we're weirdly similar in strength and are literally brothers and live together.
Nope.
That's like, wow, you get along really well.
Yep.
And I'm your coach.
Yep, we're running the same program.
You couldn't come up with a better training partner.
Two guys that live together and run the same program and are at the same strength level.
And then I'm grumpy. Then my Max trains too late in the day. I'm not doing that shit. And you're like, Sam trains too early in the day. I'm not doing that shit.
Well, it's also funny. I train at the same time as you multiple times a week.
Yeah, you do now. But historically, you always trained later. You were always like a 4 or 5 p.m. guy.
Yeah, I just got off work and I would go.
And I was a 1 p.m. guy. And I was like, I hate waiting till 5 p.m. to train.
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. Whereas you don't mind when schedule allows being more of like that noon 1 p.m. guy.
Yeah.
If your work schedule allows. But yeah, everybody assumes we train together. I'm like, no, almost never. Like every now and then it was like this novel thing. Or like in the summer, we would train together. And that was kind of lit.
That was always crazy. Yeah, I guess that was the only period of time that we actually trained together was like when I was in high school. You would come back from college and we would drive
to the Coal Creek YMCA.
I was also really nice because I
Hit
wouldn't have to
squats.
take a bus to the gym anymore, and you would drive me. That was
Yeah.
awesome. I got my driver's license insanely late, so I was just taking like the public bus to the gym
How
every
old
day.
were you got your license?
Right before I turned 18.
I got mine when I was 18, so earlier than me. Hey, shout out to the Seattle public bus system. That shit is good. It's pretty decent.
People complain about it. It's
People,
really
compared to a lot of other places, we had it good.
We don't have a bus around here. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you're not busing anywhere here.
Yeah.
What do you think about training part? You haven't really had that opportunity, and I think you would definitely benefit, right? It takes active cultivation to really get as much as you can out of it. Of like, I'm gonna hold you accountable. You're like, we're gonna talk, but that happens at the beginning and at the end, and we don't yap in the middle. And we're gonna hold each other accountable and knowing what to look like. These are all things I've heard from people I respect. Not even really like I could be a good training partner for Max, but it would take away from my training. And if we train together, that would probably take about a month of learning to where Max can start giving back to me and I can focus just as much with Max there, which is something that we're going to do because it seems like a waste not to, but we haven't to this point. So like you had to identify someone that like holds you to a high standard. They hold like back. It's kind of reciprocal. You respect them, they respect you. We're gonna like collaborate and learn how to both get the most out of this. You seem like someone who would really benefit from that to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I don't know why I haven't.
Bit of a yapper.
Yeah, that's probably the real answer. Because I think I've done training sessions with a couple of people before, and then it just takes way too long. But that's on me for being a yapper. So.
Well, it's also like you have to communicate your way through that, right? Yeah. I'm sure they also were like, that took too long and it wasn't the best quality training. So you talk to each other and say, hey, I like training with you. My sets, I pushed a little harder, or like you gave me some assisted reps. That was awesome. Or like, I got a little form fix off of them. So there's these benefits that I don't want to just forsake, right? Because I think you've seen me and Max train solo and you're like, okay, I'm going to train solo. That's what good lifters do. But it's like, that's not the case for so many good lifters, right? And it's like, you haven't seen me and Max use the communicational skills of like, hey, keep me accountable. I'll keep you accountable. No yapping mid-session.
Yeah, I'm also kind of a grumpster sometimes, though. So when I get to my gym session at the end of the day, I'm like headphones on. That's why I've been coming home a lot to train in the garage. So I'm like, I talk to people all day. I'm like, I'm gonna be alone for an hour. It's gonna be nice.
The shadow.
That's a big one for me personally. Is my clarity of thought when I'm alone is a lot better. Like I'm kind of just repeating the question in my head. Like, what do I need to do to get better? What do I need to do to hit this goal? Over and over and over, and it leads to these really productive sessions. And I don't struggle to get motivated in the garage. I really like training. So what a lot of people describe as a problem with garage gyms isn't a problem for me or you. And I'm really intentional. Like, what do I like? It's not just follow the program. It's why is the program written? What do I need to do to get better? And I find that I'm a little bit of a socially anxious fella.
Yep.
When I'm in like even a gym that's the same gym I always train at, there's this slight level of social anxiety that muddies that kind of thought process of just over and over. What do I need to do to get better? What do I need to do to get better? That voice kind of drowns out a little bit, which is something I probably should get better at because you don't compete alone in a garage.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I would benefit from specific sessions having a training crew. Like I feel like I don't know the variability of like I don't know my training crew fell apart. I'm like I don't want the idea that like my sessions suddenly change because of other people moving or whatever. But I'm like I feel like
the session wouldn't change though, would it? The session because you're good at pushing yourself by yourself.
Yeah, I guess in my mind that I'm like if there is a benefit I'm taking from them being there, which would be the reason to do it, then I'm losing a benefit suddenly because of.
But if you're returning to the baseline, you're still at what you would be at anyway.
I think
unless you forget how to push yourself.
I think there'd be a dip there. Like
you really think? Do you think so?
Yeah.
You've done it for a decade though.
Yeah, I mean, it
would be like
if I trained with a training crew for 2 to 3 years, and then suddenly I didn't have a training crew anymore. Yeah. I imagine there would be a period of time where it's like
there would be enough missed sessions where the crew isn't together to keep that skill intact.
I don't know. I feel like
you have a little bit more trust in yourself on that one. I think.
I feel like I'd begin to rely on like, oh, this is like how I do this session.
I think, but I think the second you saw that it was dissolved, I think you would know like, ooh, I could see this being a problem. I'm gonna make sure I steel myself and train like. I think you would just. I think a lot of avoiding pitfalls is seeing them coming and just saying, I'm not going to fall into this common pitfall. Like there was a guy who was like asking, he's like, hey, I just finished my cut. I see a lot of guys like rebound way too hard at the end of a cut.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that problem and I'm going to try to avoid it. Just the fact that you're thinking that means you're probably going to succeed. It's the same thing with like, I know a lot of guys, I in the past, I've gotten anxious during contest preps and it's muddied my decision-making. I'm just not going to do that. Just knowing that is enough a lot of the time.
In my mind, the perfect situation would be like not full training crew because that's too much chattiness. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like if I was just around a bunch of people who like to talk, it would probably be maybe a slight benefit, but it would be like my sessions would start taking too long, and I don't like that. Like I feel like my average sessions would start like the shed. The shed was very cool when we had a full training crew, but my sessions were like 3 to 4 hours because it was like we're all hanging out and we're getting food, and it was a very fun period of time. Not optimal in my mind.
Yeah.
Like specific training partner, probably Sam. 2 to 3 days a week. I wouldn't want you there for every single session, but I feel like specific sessions that would be like a cool benefit.
I feel like something that I feel like I missed out on is assisted reps. So I love doing sets with assisted reps. When Sam's been there, like he finishes his session, I'm taking too long from yapping. He'll come over and he'll like give me some assisted reps on like the last of my accessories of the day. It's sick. It's awesome. It's really fun.
Yeah, I've had a couple of the dudes come over and be like, yo, you want to give me like 3 extra once I start failing? I'm like, This doesn't seem productive. Like I just feel like the most wildly stimulative reps of just like forcing out an extra.
Yeah, and then, I don't want to get into like someone's going to be an evidence-based hypertrophy guy and be like that. Let me explain why that's suboptimal. We get it. In like Kirsten's case, it's a time thing. Like in Kirsten's case, there would be room to fit a few more productive, stimulative sets in the session or later in the week. We don't have time for that. So in lieu of rising to that effective volume level, I find that to be an effective supplement instead. And also, don't be a dork. It's cool.
It's badass.
But you know, like I was thinking about this. We talked about doing big Saturdays together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. The one that I'm like, okay, of course, because it's not that individualized.
The lower accessory.
Lower accessory.
That was the exact
just leg
like,
bodybuilding is like, no, that's just better, right? If just like, that's where our competitiveness is good, right? Of just like, yeah, it's not even the numbers because you don't want to ever fudge form.
But I'm not gonna like ever give up
effort.
in front of you because I'd be like, this is lame.
It's effort. It's exactly. You're trying to win out in effort, not numbers. Trying to beat your training partner in numbers. You guys aren't the exact same strength.
Yeah.
You'll probably resort to fumbling your technique to force numbers. Try to beat your You want to make your training partner feel like they trained like a bitch in comparison to you. They try to do the same, and you'll train really hard. And it's like they're dumb motions. There's like it's just like tough adductor, tough leg extension, front foot elevated lunges, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like it would be very different our working together dynamic on the big Saturday where it's like, no, I'm not trying to outwork Max. I'm trying to give Max feedback for what he needs to do better today. He's trying to give me feedback. And then maybe we provide some energy. There is no competitiveness on the actual competition movements. There's competitiveness on the tertiaries, whereas it's more lending someone your energy and lending them your eye for the main stuff, right? And it's like, depends how unique the session is. Right now, it'd be tough to do uppers together because I'm training for overhead and you're training for bench press. Whereas if we were training for the same thing, it's like, okay, bodybuilding stuff, let's sync up.
Yeah.
Maybe what we like bench press, maybe we train together and do that same thing of like lend energy, and then we compete on the bodybuilding stuff, like that kind of deal. But it's like two different kinds of sessions.
Do you know who I think benefits the most from training crews? Early career, girl starts going to the gym with a couple of her dude friends, doesn't realize she shouldn't be able to keep up with them, and then keeps up with them for way longer than you would think she should be able to, and then is just a hoss.
That's very funny. That feels like
archetype.
I've seen that happen. I've met several women who were like, oh yeah, I started training with like my brother and a couple of his friends, and then I stopped being able to keep up, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? And then they were like, oh, it's because, you know, women lift less weight than dudes, but I thought I should have been able to keep up a little bit longer. And then they're insanely strong.
It's so funny because it's like we talk about like the whole aggression maxing and delusion maxing, right? There is something just being convinced that you're gonna progress at the same rate. It's not gonna take you forever, but like it might take you a lot longer than if you had come in being like, well, I'm always gonna be weaker, like
right. Well, like obviously techniques gets shoddy and all that stuff, but it's like still like the gal I'm referencing that comes to mind, it was like, oh yeah, I got to like a 3-plate squat and then I couldn't keep up. Holy shit.
Yeah, Jesus. We'll do one more. Oh God, I don't know which one to pick.
While he's reading keep reading. Do as you're told.
Jesus.
Man,
see their boxing match part 2 coming up real quick.
Yeah, you can get this fucking workout again. Publicly humiliated by me yet again.
Yeah, clip. He really chose those clips when he posted the highlights.
Yeah, the one where
I was picking and choosing.
Yeah, I picked and chose the part where I matrixed you.
Oh, how about we actually just fucking go full bore instead of 30%,
yeah, I don't want to
30%. I would knock you unconscious.
I don't want to sleep you. I would feel so bad.
Universal training cues.
Aggression.
Well, you know, if you've ever been to a powerlifting meet or a strongman meet, people yell some things that might not be hips, chest stuff.
I don't hate hips.
I know, but it's funny because it harkens back to the olden days.
It does. Yeah, a lot of them are very old cues. I think there's part of that is what's a safe cue, right? Like
that was where I was going was like there are sometimes you'll hear someone where it's like maybe that might be the opposite of what they need to be doing.
Exactly.
This is a horrible cue to be yelling at them. Sometimes up. That's the direction you got to be going.
Get tight.
Yeah, get tight. It's a
Brace.
safe cue. Big brace, right? I definitely think there's some that, like Kirsten's seen this, when you're first working with someone, you want to throw out safe cues, right? You know, you can say there's no such thing as a good cue or a bad cue. It's how it's interpreted in the context. So like you could be like, well, chest up is a bad cue. And I can see why people say chest up is a bad cue, but it depends how the lifter interprets it and what they actually do. If they just lift in rampant extension, maybe it was a bad cue. But if they keep their abdominal tightness, they keep their brace, they keep their posterior tilt, and they lock in their upper back a little harder, that was a good cue, even though people say it's a bad cue. So it depends on interpretation, but there's cues that are going to be misinterpreted a lot of the times if you don't talk it through with the athlete. So you're always throwing out like, say, you're like, I don't want to mess them up, but I can tell they want direction right now. So like big brace, get tight, hips, just that intentionality of stop trying to pull up and back up at the deadlift lockout. Try to push your hips to meet the bar. Switch that intent and you might finish a pull that you wouldn't, right?
You know what my go-to is?
Let's hear it.
Somebody's getting fired up, right? I don't know them. This is just a dude at the gym, right? And I've got to give him that energy, right? But I don't want to be like, drive through your feet. one of the weird max cues. Take your time, universally so good. Yep. Take your time, fucking blow it up. Because everyone goes too fast. I've never, I don't think I've ever seen someone like, damn, they went way too slow setting that up. Like some people, I guess, are in freak cases are like neurotic about like, get tight, get loose, get tight, get loose.
That's actually funny. So I was agreeing with you, but then I thought about deadlift. And rampant problem, people taking too long down at the bar and getting in their head. Right? Like Josh had a tremendous amount of success getting people like little deadlift PRs by just telling them, just go.
Yeah.
Like deadlift in particular, sometimes telling them like, just stop ditzing around and just go will get someone a 10-pound PR, especially earlier lift. Most of the time, strong guys, like late intermediate guys, already have that figured out that if they ditz around down there too long, they start getting looser and they start second guessing themselves. But like, honestly, speed up on deadlift. Not a good idea on bench press, especially on squat. I just see guys like slam their back with the fastest walk. They're not saving. The energy you think you're saving is not the right priorities right now.
Oh, it's always so annoying or sad whenever I'm spotting someone and they scuff their walkout horribly, and I'm like, you might have just fucked your chances off rep.
Yeah.
The other one that always comes to my mind is make it smooth. I think that's a really good one, is because a lot of people will approach like big lift with this idea of just like ripping it, and then they'll hit this fat sticking point, and it's just like, go just like, you're something, it's like the classic Chad Wesley Smith, I know you didn't make it up, but like slow is smooth, smooth is fast, where like just going smooth is like a way better like approach to the tempo of the lift, rather than just trying to like punch that shit.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
No, I think I yelled them all at you guys.
So I'm running through that off the top of my head. Squeeze the bar on the bench press.
Oh, yeah,
safe cue. Big air on the bench press. Safe cue. I think there's such a thing as over breathing your brace on squats and deadlifts. I'm not sure over breathing your brace is even possible on the bench press. That's my personal theory, right? Like I'm game to like, I'm sure, oh, well, Steve Denovi says this. Probably go with what Steve says. Yeah, that's a very elite, dedicated powerlifting coach. I'm just some guy. I believe in big breathing the bench. Usually, especially with earlier lifters, I say like, wait a sec before you go for that last rep. Maximum air. Pull in more air than you think you can even pull in, and then the next rep will be faster. I'm like, okay, that confirms my bias of like squeeze the bar, big air, very safe cues. Up and back, very safe cue on the bench press. So I do think some lifters drive the bar back too early, and that's controversial. I know some people disagree with that, but that's one that I'll throw out. I feel like pretty safe throwing out there.
Get tight is like, because either A, they don't know what that means, in which case I'm just yelling nonsense at them, which it's fine. Like I'm not like, because if I yell something that like it's so, like push through your heels is one of those cues where I'm like, they could interpret that in a million bad ways.
Yep.
Get tight is either A, they understand what that means and it does good for them, or B, they're just like, all right.
Yeah. How about stay tight on the bench?
Yeah.
Oh.
Especially like in the pause.
Like a rep
But
set.
a lot of people, that's a good one, but a lot of people never get tight enough. Like I always say, like if you are not uncomfortably tight in your bench setup, you're not benching as well as you could. You should get uncomfortably tight, and you should be, especially when it's light weights, people won't do it. And they're like, oh, I'll tighten it up when it gets up to 80%. No, that's how you practice the skill of holding these tight specific positions. Like Dennis always talked about, like the reason he Larson presses so much is because his setup is so tight, it's very fatiguing for his low back. So he needs to use it sparingly, but practice that skill. So I would say the biggest like safe three on the bench: get tight, squeeze the bar, big air. I like those are great cues. Those are a really good idea for. I don't know if I've ever seen someone like, oh, I've messed them up by telling them those three things. Deadlift, abs tight, like someone's going to come punch you in the stomach, reiterating that punch in the stomach ab tightness, not necessarily a crunch, but like that brace, right? That's a safe one. Hips is a good one. What?
That's an immoral one. Just keep pulling.
That's a great one.
I
It's a good
fear
cue.
I'm going to get someone hurt because I've told people that, and then I'd be like, stop pulling.
Stop. I didn't mean it that much. Drop it.
I'm always like, that is always where I'm like, you've got something right going on. If I have to be like, put it down, like you're just sitting at your knees, like you're not gonna muster the fucking.
I would never give that in like a personal training session, but at a meet, I'm absolutely yelling that.
Yeah.
That's a cue I'll use for myself. Is I'll just be like, I'm gonna tear everything off my
Just
body.
keep pulling.
Just keep pulling.
It is a good cue for when you're like, I need to hard commit. And also learning to commit to a pull early. There are some people that like, you just stop pulling. Like up until mid-intermediate, I see lifters regularly stop pulling too early. I missed. It's like, you didn't miss. You just stopped.
Yeah, like if someone's had a third attempt at a meet, that's the time to be like, just fucking keep. Unless they've got like dog form. Because
Even
I'm like,
it's a competition, baby. Even if their form is bad. So I was like, okay, those are my 3 for bench that I feel really safe. Deadlift, like a lot of it's like, what are the cues that you give in coaching to set someone up for long-term success versus like, what are safe cues in the moment to like try to maximize their chance of this lift. I actually think like go faster. Just go.
Yeah.
Just go. Abs, hips.
keep fucking pulling.
Will usually get someone through like a little deadlift PR. Squats, get tight.
Yep.
Good brace.
Yep.
Take your time on the squat, like set it up, settle the weight properly, stay over your midfoot is always a safe one to yell.
Drive.
Back up into the bar. Like I want you to stay tight. I want you to get your rebound, and I just want you giving it hell to drive your back up into the bar rather than focusing solely on pushing the floor away from you. Back up into the bar, hard as hell. Good idea. Like that's a safe one that I give guys at the gym. They'll like, I think they'll sneak a 50-50 weight a lot more of the time. And I'm just like, look, man, good walkout. Take your time. Set a good brace. Rebound and then just drive your back in. Push your back up into the fucking bar. Use your hip hinge.
That's always such a funny like circumstance. Being like somebody like trying to give somebody advice, but like, go for it.
That is funny because that is like such a specific skill. Like if you don't know the person, it's so awkward. Like if you know the person and you're like, this is an overly timid lifter.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give them technical cues. You know, like Adam's a very technical cerebral lifter, and it's like if next time he's good, like when he's going for a maximum this block, I'm not gonna give him a single cue. I'm just gonna be like, get fired up, attack, kill.
All right, boys, get after the weights today. Thank you for tuning into Large Lads. Leave comments, please.
Continue your aggression maxing and let us know your go-to micro sources that you just enjoy and are also passable.